Today we're going to talk about spaced repetition, and we're going to create a spaced repetition database inside of Notion. This is something I've been requested to do a lot, either within the bounds of Remnote or Notion, mostly in Notion. I know a lot of people are trying to figure that out. So today I'm going to build two separate databases. One of which is going to be more of a simple approach to spaced repetition, something that really a beginner can wrap their head around. And then we're going to go into trying to automate certain aspects of it. So basically that's going to be a combination between a retrospective revision, so looking back and assessing a study session, and adding spaced repetition. So we're going to look forward and create a date to look at those flashcards or that information again. Now, what I want this template to do is basically encourage people who already have notes inside of Notion, who are already using toggles more specifically, to be able to transfer those notes into this table and to start using it. That is the goal. So let's just get right into it. So let's start with the template that you're going to be able to see in the link down below. So this is exactly what I'm looking at is what you'll be looking at. This is going to be the final product. So you'll come down here to this table. This is our main revision table. Up here, this calendar you see, this is just a linked database from the original, and we're just putting it into calendar view. The main table, what it consists of, like I said in the beginning, each row is a new study session. This is our first study session for French words. We have the date that we're studying, the next study date, which is a formula, which we will make, the total cards, which in this case are the total toggles, which I have down here. So these are my flashcards, right? Every English word, I will then type the answer in this quote block. Let me see if I can remember what this word is. And then I'll be able to toggle the answer. And it looks like I'm correct. And I will just toggle correct and really just move on to the next one and go down the list. Then at the end of this study session, I will come up here and calculate how many toggles I got correct. And this is just the revision number. This is my first revision. And this formula here will basically tell me what my understanding of the study session was based off of the total correct answer. So 8 out of 28 is a pretty low number. That would constitute a low understanding. And because of this little to no understanding result, the next study date will be the same day. Because my understanding was so low, I want to revisit that right away. But if you look up to my 6th revision, November 26th, I have a great understanding of this material, and my next study session is then in another 4 days, not the same day. And that's really how it is. And each study session has a snapshot of all of my answers, all of my correct and incorrect answers will still be here, which I really like. It gives you that snapshot of your study session. How we're going to be able to replicate each study session is through templates. So I have templates for each deck or each type of note. So French notes version 1, we have another one for French notes, and I can go into edit it and see all my notes here. So when I select this template, all of these toggles will appear. And I can just get right to studying one deck. You can see here that is version 1 French words, which correlates with this deck here. And I have another one for French words version 2 and another one for version 3. Now up here, this is a linked database. This will show me the month I'm in, and I'm sorting this calendar by the next study date. So this is telling me on what date I need to study all of these things next, not the original study date. I need to study this deck here for French revision. I will go down to my table and select V2 French words and just create another study session. I'll come down to the revision number and just type in 8, the date of today, and then I will click the template it corresponds to, open this up, and just start studying. Then I'll go up to total cards being 14, and I will select this property and type in the amount of cards I got correct. Let's say I got 14 correct, so there are no misunderstandings, giving us that purple color. If I go back, we'll see that that has populated, and the next study date will be in 7 days. That'll be December 12th, and if we go up to the calendar and navigate to December 12th, it should show up, which it does. Version 2 French revision. All right, so let's just make this from scratch. I copied this template and pretty much just deleted everything inside of it. So the first thing we're gonna do is just create a table with all of this functionality. This first view is just gonna be for one deck. So I wanna make sure that in filter, name, so this property here contains the words V1 French revision. So I don't have to type that in every time I create a new session. Let's change this understanding formula to just a select property. So if I were to click new, we have V1 French revision. And let's clear out this formula, and we're just going to create it again. So this is our first revision, and this right here is a property that is a number property. Go into this date property, plug in today, and let's say these flashcards are in Anki, or they're physical flashcards, they're somewhere else. We're not using Notion. We're just going to use this table for retrospective revision. So we went and we studied. We've already studied, and our understanding of this study session is little to no understanding. And let's just make sure this is red. For me, if I have little to no understanding of something, I'm gonna make sure I revisit it the same day, maybe later that day or before I go to sleep, but that's just me. Now these conditions are customizable in this formula, so whatever works for you, I suggest putting in different numbers. So in order to show me today for next study, we're going to use something called an if statement. So if property understanding, we're going to wrap property understanding with the function called contains. So if it contains little to no understanding, put that in quotes, then using a comma, I want it to show me just the original date. If not, again using a comma, this is a false condition. Just show me right now, the date and time of right now. Now we have the date of today. Let's do another revision. Let's say this is revision 2. I always like to have each new revision reside at the top of the table. How I'm doing this is going to sort and revision descending. Let's say I then come back and revisit this on the 5th, and now my understanding is a little bit better. Now I have some understanding. For some understanding, I also want to revisit it the same day. This is just me. I really want to make sure I have a moderate understanding of something before I step away from it. So what I'm going to do is just copy this function, the contains in understanding, little to no understanding. And I'm going to space and say or. So I'm using this or function, pasting in that same line and just changing within understanding contains not little to no understanding, but some understanding. So in both instances, we're just going to show the original date. Do another revision. The third revision, again, I look at today, and this time I actually have a moderate understanding. Change that to yellow. In here, what I want to do is if I have a moderate understanding, I'm going to add 1 day to the next study session schedule. So we're going to add another if statement. right before this false condition and just say if in property understanding wrap it around contains moderate understanding, then I want to add 1 day. So date add to property, that's date, lowercase, capital A, property, date. So we're gonna add days to this date, comma, 1, comma, days, and close that out. Add another parentheses at the end because we have another condition. And now you'll see that we're adding 1 day to the original study date. Say I come back to this material, this is my 4th revision, I come back to it the next day on the 6th, and now my understanding is good. Again, we're going to add another if statement, and really just keep doing this down the line, and I'm copying and pasting so it's a bit easier. If contains in understanding, instead of moderate understanding, let's say a good understanding, add 2 days. And that's 3 parentheses at the end of this formula. Now you'll see that the 6th next study date is the 8th, and that's 2 days. So let's do another revision in 2 days. Let's say we do this one on the 8th, and the understanding is a great understanding. Just like before, I'm going to copy this if statement with the comma, paste it over, add a parentheses at the end, just change good understanding to great understanding, and 4 days instead of 2 days. Now our next study session will be the 12th and so on. But let's just go down the entire line here. Again, studying on the 12th. This time the understanding is perfect. There's no misunderstandings. For this, I am going to add 7 days. Another parentheses at the end. Change great understanding to no misunderstandings. And 7 days. Next study session will be in 7 days on the 19th of December. Now let's say there's another deck of flashcards we want to add into this table. We're just going to add a new view, new table view. Let's rename this table view to maybe another deck of French words. Go into filter and make sure that name contains V2 French words or V2 French revision, so that upon each new entry it will show up as that title. Also sort again by revision descending, and that's the number. This will be revision number 1. Say we did this revision on the 2nd of December, and again we can go through our select property. Let's say this time there's some understanding. Second revision, also on the 2nd, there was moderate understanding. Now it's showing us we need to revise again on the 3rd. Let's say this time we didn't revise on the 3rd, and instead we went back on the 5th. That's okay. And this time also a moderate understanding. It will just tell us to, again, study on the 6th. Maybe we have a great understanding, the next study session will be on the 10th, and so on. Now let's replicate what we saw in that original template. So we're going to go /link, and we're going to create a link to database to the revision table. And I'm going to add a view for calendar view, and delete this original view here. I'm going to go to calendar by, and instead of having the date, which is this is our original date of studying, I want to look at next study. Can also go to properties and view understanding. We can also create a new view within this database to show us what we need to revise today. And in here, we're going to create a filter where I just see a next study is today. Need to return to version 1 French revision, which I will then toggle this view here, locate V1 French words, and just add another revision. So revision 7. Let's now automate this understanding property for those who already have toggles within Notion and are using those toggles as flashcards. So again, we have our first revision. Say this is revision number 1. Now we want to import our toggles. What you're going to do is create a new template, and that's going over to New, down to the Select button, and New Template. I have 4 already made for me, and in order to edit these templates, and this is where you're going to add new toggles or take away toggles, press these 3 dots, go to Edit. This is my first one. And like I said in the beginning, I am organizing my toggles in this way where I'm grouping them. So these are just vocab words. What I'm doing is I'm creating a group in a toggle, and then each card within that group will have its own toggle as well. So I'm going to be able to actually create a template, an inline template within this database template. It's a bit of templateception in order to streamline the creation of new toggles, new cards. In order to do that, I have this template button right here. It's a bit small, but it's tucked in at the very top. So whenever I need a new group, I'll just press New Group. I'll have a call out at the top of my group, which shows me an empty space, colon, and then a number, and that's the number of flashcards. So this is me just keeping track of how many cards I have correct down the page, so that at the end of the study session, I can come up to the top and quickly type in how many cards I got correct. Within this group title, when I toggle it down, I get another template. So this is 3 templates nested into each other. We have a database template, a template inside of that for a new group, and then a template for a new flashcard within this new group template. When I go to create a new flashcard, one of these grayed out toggles will appear, and it'll just be a blank toggle. Then again up here, let's say I got 17 correct. I want to be able to automate this understanding just like in the beginning. So let's quickly create those if statements like we did with the next study date, but in terms of understanding. So first of all, let's say that total correct is empty. So we've created this row, but we have not studied yet. We want to show that processing result. Again, just for the sake of aesthetics really, I think it looks cool. Let's make sure this total correct is empty. So if property total correct is empty, so we're going to wrap this around an empty function. If it is empty, then show me an emoji. And what I'm doing on my Mac is Command Control space, the brain emoji, and just say processing. Otherwise, let's just keep it blank and see what that looks like. So if we have something in here, say 12, it will be blank. That's our false condition. The next condition I want to put in right before this false condition is if in property total correct divided by property total cards, that's giving us the percentage of correctness. If it is below or equal to 30%, like I have up here, I want it to show me little to no understanding. Less than or equal to 0.3, then just show me, I want to put in those red blocks like we saw in the template. Just put a bunch of them actually. And then type in little to no understanding, comma at the end, and another parentheses because we have another condition. And we're just going to keep adding those if statements, right? So if understanding is less than or equal to 55%, we'll say some understanding, and so on. So let's just go down the list, and I'm just copying and pasting again, adding a parentheses at the end and changing things up a little bit. So I'm just going to locate that second one and make sure 0.33 is actually 0.55, and I'm going to make sure these blocks are orange. Some understanding. And you'll see that this next study, because we use the contains function, is automatically understanding what this property is telling it. So in the beginning we have, if understanding contains little to no understanding or some understanding, just show the original date, which it does, December 5th. We go to 2, it will also show December 5th. Let's do the next condition going down. You'll see how that changes again. So instead of 0.55, let's say 0.70, and these blocks will be yellow. And this will be moderate understanding. And another parentheses at the end. Let's say we have 16 correct. Because it is a moderate understanding, our spaced repetition, our next time we're going to study this, is tomorrow, which it will populate as December 6th. I'm just going to go right down the list and maybe speed up the video a little bit. Now let's look at how this formula functions. Maybe 18, 20, it's a good understanding, 27, great understanding, and 28 would be no misunderstandings because there are 28 cards. So that's pretty much how that's working. Let's take this revision table and take a look at how this is updating. So we're going to see again, everything update within this calendar view by next study date, which the only one we have here is December 12th. So this is pretty much the duplicate of the original template. Let's navigate back to it, and hopefully I went over everything clearly and I wasn't too vague. I always try to explain everything as slowly but efficiently as possible, especially for those who are more advanced users and think I'm going a little bit too slow. This is my approach to spaced repetition. I know a lot of you, I do get some emails of people explaining to me their approach to it, and I love seeing this stuff. I love seeing other people's use cases, so let me know down in the comments how you've approached this, if maybe my use case might give you some inspiration to tweak yours a bit. And of course, any questions you have. December is going to be a big month for templates. I'm putting out 3 different templates this month that were supposed to go out last month, but I got COVID, so that didn't really work. So look out for those. They're going to be designed mostly for the new year, and there's going to be one for note takers. That's more of a resource. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week and through the week on Twitter. See you then.